Now, from studying all of diverse words from English and the Deutsche Wörter, the focus is on the fluent usage of those diverse words in an eloquent, fluent sequence for those structures to be exactly deployed for wherever and whichever seats they do come into, or wherever position they have their sittings on. The purpose for saying some words, making a sentence, is for the one to exactly convey its meaning, its analyzed connections exactly on and to. So, when to make a purpose, not studying the structure of grammar, which does matter, but not having any importance as much as what the one would have possibly thought, because the structure of grammar for its origin and its purpose both are applied on. The purpose is to make the legit and what do you call fluent structure for which place does a word go in. It entirely depends on the usage of speaker for informations making a connections by the learner. The one makes its own connection, and thus the deployment of words. For the sequences to vary, the one can make the connections diversely, as all possibilities can allow, and so does the sequence of expression. So the purpose is to know diverse words and make some basic grammatic structures learnt out of it, and you make your own structure to design newly, not to be ringed, curved, chained, suppressed by the meaningless structures, for how to make the structure be legit. For what defines as a legit is the one's genuine analyzation, or how one thinks what the words has to be deployed. It is the exact one to deploy, as long as its analyzation is correct. The problem point and proposed in question is, how much diverse words does the one know, and how fluently can the one deploy with to the sentence on? Yeah. Now, German grammatic structures are highly organized, having a super regularity compared to the English, and diverse words are mostly compounded, one having less kind of new words, for those existing words are just compounded, and that is the exact form in the logic structure. German language passes, surpasses, and supersedes in any other point of the English word, but on the structure as a grammar for deploying words in which place is highly fluent on English side. For those that German structures are primarily defined by the verb and past participles that are not quite making any eloquency one requires to, as long as and whenever, if the sentence makes a legitimacy, the words are deployed as such. Now, it is always about the capacity of computer for what informations to connect on, and that analyzation is exactly delineated into the code set, whose variousness or variety defines how the real information is really connected. Fluency of grammar, fluency of word deployment, makes the exact fluency of how real informations are connected. The real question is, yeah, how the informations are connected, not how would it be expressed. Okay, okay. So the purpose of learning something language is to organize, and the first to learn all the words and varieties that are in existence of the certain of a certain language, and organize all of the words and make some regularities found, and make the combinations, having some basic knowledges for how to make the sentences, and you then thereafter you create your own self, your own structure, your own name. You create your own method to go on. For the analyzations that you often do, for the connections that you primarily connect for, those particular word sequences, structures are highly mobilized compared to the other types of one. And the one would normally would have used not in average but particularly so. In a particular analyzation, the particular choices of word, choices of sequence are mobilized. For the one who uses a particular analyzation, so does the deployment of words, which is entirely created by the one who makes the analyzation, not adjusting on the formula, on the pre-designated, pre-nominated uh, structure for what do you call what do you call for uh, bearing the structures, predominated structures for how it has to be made. Not at all. You create your own self for the ones, for the words that the one doesn't use, and for the words that the one often uses and even highly uses. The Häufigkeit, the frequency, okay, for which one does one use over the another, okay, makes the ranking for which one to remember. So things that are not used having no importance by the no frequency as such, having no frequency as such. Yeah. We also do store the words from all of the diverse words in a dictionary for only 5% to 10% out of the entire existence, because only that percent do have the importance to be written, to be stored, for having enough value to be remembered. Okay. The question is, for how much words do you know, and how much new words do you create, and how fluently does those words are, okay, are those words are deployed? Does these words deploy? You make your own grammatic structure. You make your own word, your unique sequence for conveying a certain analysis. Now there could be no accurate sequence as per the particular analysis the one wants to, because it was made wants to convey with the words, but there isn't any, which then is created by that one for using by what words to deploy on which place on this sentence. You define yourself for what to go, because you are the thinker. Okay, you create your own word, new word to define newly, and the structure of those as such. And for the unique combination of words, they are rather new to the listener, and thus like unintelligible, unliterable to the listener, but thinking from not the standpoint of the listener, but to the speaker for questioning always from the standpoint of that. And by what connections of information would the one and could the one have made such uh, such combinations, such sequences of words? Thus, then, can the one really understand how that structure would have really meant and really means by the speaker? By those methods, new words, new structures are created as their new information's connections are created by. Uh-huh. Now, I really appreciate by studying German language the fluency of English grammar for just allowing any other kind of difference, words and prepositions to be locatable to any other uh, places of a sentence for conveying some informations to the exact manner, okay, as those analyzation is new for the both on the both for the creator and the listener. So the fluency that allows some diverse kinds of English words to be deployed in various positions, I do really like it. And German words, German grammatic structures should have too. Of course, German boys always do understand what the one would really want to mean, okay? What really means. Uh, Now the point is not to obey and what do you call rig rig rule to obey on the rule, but to create the new structures as long as the new creation of information allows. So is the structure. So does the structure. It creates new one. So the purpose is focused always on the exact delineation of words. All thinking is made from the computer, and the code is written by that exactly reflecting that. So the purpose is to make new connections and to make new connections of words. Okay, it is about exactly conveying for what connections of information does the one really want to convey on. Okay, which makes the definition of what fucking language is. The structure to create new word to create newly. For exactly reflecting what the analyzation of computer is, defines what the definition of language is for exactly functioning from the origin of that. What it really means. What it come for? It is just the creation of word by the creation of concept and the creation of concepts connection. The creation of connection of concepts to make the sequence of structures of sentence to be righteous as such. You reflect it, you think it, and you make it. So the definition of eloquency of the one's usage of certain language entirely depends on the fact that how much words, how much quantity and quality of words does the one know, and how fluently are those words deployed. That makes all things defined and spoken. How much words do you create? How much words do you know? How much things can you mobilize on the sentence to exactly convey on, to exactly transport, express for what you really want to say, which really for the analyzation, which really mean exactly is conveyed. Now further from here, we will spoke we will speak in German because it has more uh, what do you call regelmäßige Struktur, a logical structure of words for how the words are formed, making a compounded words are highly in existence, making new learning of some word very easier compared to the fucking English language for uh, which was uh, importing from different like five different diverse languages having lots of bloody synonyms which don't necessarily necessitate, but in German language purely reflects from its almost predominantly from its own origin, making a highly less uh, portion of synonyms compared to the. I even expect the French language would have more synonyms per word in average compared to the German word has. So it has more regularity, making a high level of logical sequence, but uh, for its grammar also is. And even though its grammar isn't defining for uh, each and every cases by what prepositions and words are mobilized in a packet, in a bundle, but it is fluent, and of course people would understand it for using rather quite unique new words and unique combinations. Would the one really could the one really understand? And our purpose is to use those German words, and by applying some basic structures of German sentence, but what only is obeyed, what only is, what do you call, what only is followed is to just, is just the one that has a real basic form like as subjective and verb to the objective, or sequences and for the expression of tenses, uh, but other than those that have a high importance that have no choice but to be followed, but all those words other than that are fluently repositioned for exactly reflecting how those the one want to say per following for their analyzation. That is the purpose of making and following and using and what remembering, utilizing, advancing the coach said what really the language means. Making, knowing, treating a lot of words, making its diverse sequences deployed out of it, making how, making a decision, making an evaluation of the one for how its capacity on its fluency of the one's usage of language is. Our sentence was just longer, which is a determining factor for number one, how much does the one know and has the one created new words, and number two, how fluently does do those words are those words deployed. Those two factors do only are the only determining factor for evaluating the one of how does the one's fluency, eloquency of a certain language is. Okay, it exactly reflects what the definition of word is, origination of word is, okay, and what the function of sentence is. Now I'm seeing the gigantic cooperation of ants, what we call the small black and hexapedal boys. Those And those boys are congregating and cooperating, converging in the same place and scouring for their operations. Now the word we call literally by the combination of co and operation, cooperation. And on the process for creating a knowledge, all operations for learning are made, executed. For their operations to go, have all learnings processed, have a go of all executions. Other than the cooperation, what other methods could the one possibly have imagined? What other methods, other than the cooperation, can the one possibly imagine? Because, like, the cooperation is just like a fraud goes on. It just tricks for the capacity, for what only one body cannot do, by just adding on top of each other and just upon each other and having a large organization, but just comprised of rather smaller units, individuals, but having a team to go like a company does. Those are converging into a same mission, the same operation to go. However mighty and the one could have the diverse capacities to learn, the overall operation cannot be surpassed by the sole operator, whatever its capacity has, because it has the capacity of its body. At any given time, at any given place, the one can only exist in one place at the same time and no other places to go. Meaning, however greatest up can it be, it is just made only that operation. While at the same time, no others are made. Nothing. So nothing but that single operation is made. But even if, and even though, the capacity of a single operator is low, but when they are congregated and having a common goal, they can do much better, because they have a capacity of labor to move their bodies to construct something, to move their bodies into some kind of mission, a common mission, a shared objective towards that target. They can communicate each other. Now, all the knowledges are made by the sum of by the congregation of the individual operators. The knowledges cannot be made entirely by the sole operator. Even if it can be so, it would take a much longer time. So the count matters. Fucking count matters. Now the Gesellschafts and Wirtschafts of certain nation, the count matters. Reason of why the boy, the unit, company, corporation makes much advancement than one genius can ever do, because they are in cooperation. Now, our objective is for making a dictionary, and the reason of why we do make a dictionary, which is itself a strenuous and arduous job, what we do because now we want to do, but we have to do a dictionary. No, that's the wrong word to refer to. For what really is a code book, so we call it word book. The word book, we do have to organize all the words that are in existence, which we want to create new ones upon it by combining all the existing knowledges into new connections for creating new dots. But for that, the one to do that job, the one has to understand for the pre-existing knowledges to be completely connected and organized for the one to go further advance his job of creation. For that to go, let's just say we do have 500,000 words in existence in German word. We do primarily start from German word because it has high logical organization compared to that of in English that English has. So we do first go for a German word. We do that for knowing all the connections that human have ever made till this time. Now, even though, as I've just said, there are an existence of 500,000 words in German word book, which spans over like a few thousand pages, but only like at least 3% up to 7%, in average 5% of all its listings do have a word to be reorganized, because, well, we only select the most important words that have a worth to, that have a value to be really stored. Okay. So number one, we sort it out for sieving and sifting out. .95% of all its listings. I would only like a. Would that be too small? 5% would be 25,000. 25,000 words? I think would be enough. 25,000. Now for those, we rank it down from the first listings of the first page of a book to the last end of it by the importance for the criterion B, determining criterion B. First, how frequently is it used? 2, how much importance objectively for studying discipline do those words have? So rank it down by those two determining factors. And number 3, for those words, we dissect for its constituents down by primarily from prefix, root, suffix. Okay? By those 3 just simple combinations can the one really make like unimaginable count of a bountiful words. That is an abundant job. And in an adjacent location of which, like above, just above or under of it, semantically close words are co-located, and on each of those words grammatically vary the forms by adding just another suffixes at the end of each word, which makes all the grammatically varied forms possible, or adding another meaning with not changing the grammatical role by whatever it means, by just adding different suffixes upon that. Can the one really change the color of its tail? Okay? So the diversification of word by simply adding just onto that is a real good job. That kind of logic would always eternally be used. So rules are collated. Number 4, would it be 5? Stem. The words that have a common factor, common part, common prefixes, common stem, common roots, common suffixes. If that is enough to be a determining factor for differentiating some paragroup to each other, as it is not excessively frequently used, can that be cohortized into some group? And the word groups that have some prefix in common, all words do have some prefix in common, and the words that have same roots, the words that have same suffixes, those are organized. And can the one realize the regularity of those cohortized ones because they share at least the exact common part of those structure? And we do make those jobs because we do have to connect all of those dots into the maximum density. For those networks to advance has the one to know the real constituents of it, and it is exactly what we are doing now. The one has to be assiduous for all those fucking expected vicissitudes whenever the one could possibly experience. Now, that is really a fucking job. Now, we have just completed like almost 3 different German word books, and for the left like 10 or 15 different German word books, we do go forward, but I expect not until like a 5th or 6th one, no excess to the 7th one, I will start to write down all the words that I see from the dictionary and have it organized down. That is just a sequential one. Now, by doing this job, I really realize how only the linear capacity I do have, and no fucking juxtapositional. Now the NVIDIA boys GPU, no, it's really JPU. I love it. Would that be so true? I almost entirely organize some word groups by the name of utilization of ChatGPT, which is powered by that fucking chip, without which can the one really could possibly finish the job of making some word book. Now we do organize some by some different criterion. First is the importance per importance, and on those sequence we do dissect all these structures down and having a similar meanings, similar words adjacently located. Synonyms and antonyms are collocated, and grammatically varied forms are numbered, and with a different section we do organize all words into words that have common prefix, common stem, a common root, common suffixes. With that job, we can really almost entirely organize what connections those do those group have. Those are the factors to connect the dots from and to. Now, that is just a sequential job for analyzing 500,000 different words and sorted out by littering out 95% of it and just selected out only 5 to 7%, at best 7%. Now, that is just the first step of making a fucking word book. Now I really hate it. Now the Collins unfucking abridged dictionary is above all the and overall the markets of dictionary markets that has the single biggest, largest count of listed words on a single volume of book, whose thickness goes over like 2,000 pages, and I do have two. By what word we call for that situation? Scrutinize it, scrutinize it, thoroughly to go fucking through, and I do not like it. For the fucking granular small size of fonts, and I do have to go as fucking my head and eyes delved and deep down into the fucking meaningless pages and have it son of a 2,000 of our pages sifted out. I do not like it. Will I ever do? No. But the job is to be done. By the same logic applied, we can go acceleration on the job of English dictionary. Now, had the capacity of ChatGPT of organizing the words that I ordered to been rather a very good job than it is now, its acceleration would have like quadrupled it, like it. Wow, that what do you call it? Multiplied by 10 factor, 20 factor. Had its capacity been better, just organizing all of the words by what I have commanded to, just having an answer out of it with no omission of important words, which makes no need to ask it again. Okay, making the time for making a dictionary drastically shrink down. Now, wouldn't it be amazing when the one orders to ChatGPT write all the words of German dictionary, okay? Write all of the words in existence in the language of German to this answer, and I expect it to pay over 500,000, and the ChatGPT, if it's preparing time to go surpass over like 1 hour, I do want to that to answer like that. So 500,000 words are written, and I sorted out like by the factor of the words that have some prefix, that have some root, that have some kind of important factor in it. Those are collated down. Now by doing just I can simply shrink it down. It's a full data amount like a 50 or 70%, and then I can go sift through by having another command which accelerates this job, commanding organize all the words that are left, like we say 200,000. Those 200,000s are ranked down from the first one to the last one by the factor of number one, how frequently do these words of all of those 200,000 words are used, the Häufigkeit. By the factor of that, all things are ranked down. And number two, adding another factor, the importance for learning disciplines, for diverse disciplines in general and objectively, by having two factors, the frequency, number two, the importance, and rank it down, all of those from 1 to 200,000, all are ranked, and organize it. From the first one to the 200,000, all words are cohortized by their meaning. The semantic closeness make the groupization possible, and that from that point on, the analyzation further is very easier. By that going on, and similar words, and add the synonyms and antonyms automatically processed out of each. I imagine such a machine like that. So we have completed the job of sorting 5 to 7% out of all listings out of it, and from those ranked down by its frequency of usage. Number two, by the importance on studying discipline, and those are ranked down and cohortized by its semantic closeness, from right just above, right just under, all of those words that are located in the adjacency, in vicinity, they do have close meaning. And all the synonyms and antonyms next to those listings are automatically processed, and the analysis of constituents of those are just as simply made as the one could easily possibly thought to be, as the one could easily expect it to be, as fast as it was imagined. I love it. Now lastly, all the just grammatically varied forms are just as easily just typing random keys are made next to it, just collocated. 5 to 7% important frequency and importance ranked down. Semantical closeness, antonyms and synonyms, structure analyzation, and grammatically varied forms. They do make all of the jobs required for making a highly advanced word book. And with the another section, we do analyze all of those words by having common parts like certain prefix, like certain root, like certain suffix. And wouldn't that make all the jobs required done? Like in a matter of like just hours, in a matter of like just weeks. Now in a manual job by the name of fucking ignorant Homo sapiens, not a sapiens, it makes you a wise man. And he no wise. Making I expect it to be like hardish 2-3 months to go, and I do not like it. When the words are automatically listed by the name of German language, and all of those 500,000 words are beantworten, answered whenever it is questioned, and having an answer out of it, the one can sort it out by having important factors given, the words that have common stems, prefixes, and by doing so, automatically sorted out and ranked by the frequency of usage and the importance in studying discipline. By that factor applied, by those factors applied, those are re-ranked down from 1 to 200,000 ungefähr approximately. So those are ranked and groupized by the factor of semantic closeness. The words that are located or listed in an adjacent location on each next to each other, those make the a close meaning. And the structurization be analyzed with the synonyms and antonyms collocated. Also, the grammatically varied forms are automatically processed, which will require a bloody amount of GPU power, and it is worth 2. It is worth 2. And after which, what remains is just another job, which is just organizing all the words down by having an independent factor applied, which is the words that have common prefix, root, and suffix. And then the creation of advanced word book is just finished as the one could possibly simply expected to be. Now I do not like it for fucking sifting down through the 2,000 pages of meaningless words. Even though I almost do know at that point on, when I'm going sifting through that dictionary, I do have to go again, and each and every time, whenever I do go, like your first page, second page, like 50th page, processed, selected out, and I do have to, that is a son of a fucking bitch. I do have to, transcribe from seeing the ink printed page to the keyboard, and I have to transcribe at least like 30,000 words. can you possibly imagine for those arduous and langweilige fucking job? Now, at this point on, I really have a curiosity about how I can mobilize all of those different words into the objective for saying something, for I want to say by the basis of my analyzation, and that brain has to be redesigned and re-engineered. Our task is to organize all of those word books which directly connects to the network of our brain. For what knowledges do we have is just clearly perceived down. The point on, we have to engineer for expanding the possibilities of how the fucking brain, the process of information can be designed. I think just a binary. I previously had thought that the system of binary is just a simplest, thus the stupidest form of processor, which is logically true, but having more complexity applied on, it can make some error without the perfect control under it. Make it trinary, quadrinary, what do you call? Pentinary, hexinary, deciminary, those factor. If the one can make, oh yeah, I do like it. Now for doing that, number one, the medicine going down, the biology going down, molecular biology going down, chemistry going down, micro going down, with the physics are needed, whose accurate analysis is governed by the name of mathematic. Fucking mathematica. Fucking. It has to be. It really has to be. Son of hell. Now, I really like the feature or function, feature and function of a human brain for eliminating the data that are having no importance, either it be objectively or subjectively. The data that have no complete structure, for having no righteous, accurate sequence to remember on, whose absence of logic chain makes the objective value for storing that memory highly undermined, not underestimated, really objectively undermined, as it has no logic chain to support its system, having no stability of its structure, meaning not until does the learner study for filling that gaps, for missing parts, those informations that have no sequence are just dismissed. That's the reason of why the ignorant one, since it has an ignorance, cannot have a righteous evaluation on some knowledge, as it has no righteous sequence to understand it, having no righteous real objective evaluation of how that information knowledge has a real worth, since it has no base foundation to have a connection on. Reason of why the ignorant one goes more ignorant, and the fucking vice fucking versa. So I do appreciate of how the brain prioritizes for its, not just for the by the limitation of its resources to store and process on, but the importance, having sorted out for the ones that have less, for the ones that have less importance by having no sequence to connect its dots on, those are eliminated. And in average being said, the informations that are not regarded, deemed to have an importance to that specific learner, are dismissed and disregarded, thus discarded. And I do like it. For the ones that have a worth to be memorized, and the ones that are not having that worth, I do like it. So, for all the knowledges that are stored, they must have the criterion of first having a right choice sequence from starting from its core logic and expanding its sequences of applications for the networks, as long as and as soon as it has, those are deemed to be having the greatest importance, as it has a complete structure, meaning it has higher probability to have a legitness compared to the ones that are not having one. So I do like it for the ones that have a concrete foundation. Those are really regarded as having highest importance. As those structures are fortified, those do have ever more greater importance to be remembered, and I do like it. And the ones that are not having an importance and just like a quotidian is the fucking French word, ordinary jobs, those do have even though it makes it repetitively, but unconditional factor, objectively they do not have any importance, so they are easily and executed fast and memorized as such as exactly it did before. Only that has a real worth that are only memorized, making the efficiency for storing and processing possible. Now, the job of brain for having advanced knowledge and creating one always depends on how much quality of information does it have, and by the basis of that quality can the one expand by seeking more quantities for the similar or more advanced ones to seek for. So the quality is based on which is the objective logic chain having a full expansion of sequence, and I do like it. So when the one has at least fully fully processed the scholar in university or further one by having some certain subject be majored. Can the one say that it has at least a foundation, and thus by its knowledge cannot easily be forgotten after some time, even though it doesn't make some study further from that point, because it has the concrete foundation. As long as it was learned in accuracy, those will be stored as long as its stable structure remains intact. So the importance for storing some knowledge, some memory, entirely depends on the level of advancement, the level of development of that knowledge. The ones that are not are having less stability to maintain the structure on the memory, so those are easily forgotten. So, how to learn better? You do learn from the ground up and by the accurate sequence to expand that logic. Having a adequate education be given, and gracefully seeking out for more and new information around it has the most accurate procedure for the one to acquire some knowledge. Ärgerlich. Now, I have a wütend, I have a anger for not having a capability to simultaneously process different informations at any given time. And I do go down for seeking the origin of having that limitation by the man, by the reason of the fact that the man has only 2 eyes, only has 2 hands, only has 1 body, okay? As from the fact, can the one really have an inference easily when there is just a ever same brain, but the one has now 2 or 3 bodies. The one can execute a lot more jobs at a given time. So which means the one can execute all the operations that are possible to make, which requires the firing, which requires the connection needed like 3 times, as there are 3 more bodies, 4 times, 5 times. Body count goes up, so does the connection of a brain. But when there is just a 1 body at any given moment of time, its capability for executing some operation really shrinked down. For that to go, the brain has no need to have a simultaneous capacity to go. No need to more data processings than the single body could ever require. So by the fucking enough is genug motto of the evolution, I do not like it, because the 1 body of human does not have any necessitation, any requirement for firing all the informations simultaneously and have it executed out, because its capacity for having an operation is just limited by its own capacity of body, which has just only 1 count, and I do not like it. By having that reason, the one cannot make a simultaneous processing. And I cannot confer dispute, attribute, impute, how fucking words of English. I cannot impute that for having that limitation by the name of fucking meaningless evolution as let's say, even though could the one process all the datas, like double times, triple times than the normal human does. But its eye speed, its hand speed cannot take up its speed, cannot take the speed of processing up. Even though the processing goes faster, its hand, its eye cannot take up with its speed. So the advancement of processing has to go co-evolutionized with the apparatuses the machine has, as the sensors and operating gadgets, the parts that it has, not only for the capacity of processing, but the one that can support the processing, have a go further and just continue its job on, because there is a supporting resources to go that operation successfully executed. Even though the one can have a simultaneous processing capacity, number one, the one has not enough capacity or having a speed of its motor, its eyes and hands, or even foot. Number two, even if it had, since its count of body does not exceed more than it has, which is just one, it's what we call radius and depth of operation that one single body can do cannot exceed what the single body could ever possibly necessitate. For that limitation of requirement, as though capacity of operation is limited by the count of body, so is the capacity of the processor. So it didn't need for having that, either be by the reason of not enough body to execute. Number two, not enough speed of your body. Eventually, the problem lies on the capacity of executor. Let's say there are 5 bodies but sharing one brain. The brain has to at least, when there is a condition that all 5 bodies do execute 5 different independently different other operations, the brain has to fire 5 times more informations for sufficing that jobs for that operations diverse as its count goes up. So does the requirement of processor to take up with, to follow that pace. So by having an inference from those reasons, from the cause to the result, we can easily have an inference to the another one. For the one to succeed the job of learning, the one has to learn faster and more. The time spent, the energy spent for the total dedication and learning makes the successful operation of certain learning possible. So having more time dedicated on, having more energy and focus concentrated on, so the extreme concentration and dense focus can have a fruitful advancement of knowledge, because it had invested in dedication. Now, the efficient system of memory do have a lot of importance. We do only remember the words that do have a value to be, Only the words, even though we do know a lot, whenever we are heard, whenever we are seen, whenever we are sensed, our information can be fired up but we do not, those are passive ones, we do not proactively remember that, as the passive one makes a lot cheaper cost to go, but the proactive one makes a high cost. The proactive firing of all the information to process without the stimulation stimulated from the simulations from the environments, it costs a lot. By that reason, we only do remember for the words that have a value to be. Only the words that have a worth to be. So all the colloquial, ordinary, quotidien, shall we go in French? Just a average and easily perceivable one. We do not, for the ones we do not have remember on. Now, thinking about the purpose of brain for learning, which is the reason of why the existence of very self exists. For that reason, the purpose of brain is to make the learning successful, for the one to advance for its network of informations. Thinking about that one for how the brain can advance, on the some perspective of which, now we think about the memories that are used for to retain and the ones that are not. For things that are in the exact opposite position, those have to be eliminated as fast as the one can do, as the, okay, as fast as it can. So the ones that are having a little relevance, having very virtually no value to store any further than it has to be, which is just forgetting like the next day, or the ones that have a little value, that have to be immediately forgotten as soon as the operation required has just ended. Those have to be eliminated. Required by thinking, and the result is, my conclusion, the objective conclusion is not about how much count of information does the learner has. It is about the quality of information does the one have. For the quality of information, the determining factor is whether that information was attained and retained from the initial genesis of its formation, from starting the core logic and expanded like a very accurate great process of education, for those learnings that are attained through the right choice sequences, those that have the most importance to be stored, and those will last like remain for years and decades, because it has an importance. But those ones that are like a tiny fraction in the incidents, like having through like ordinary incidents during your life, it does not have any importance to be stored any long-term memory. Long-term memory is only selected for by the important ones, and those are not as to be have to be immediately forgotten. The performance of memory is determined by how much quality of all informations are stored does one have. How much quality information does one have, not the just the count of irrelevant and unconnected dots. However, it might be a just a peculiar and special one if that dot isn't connected to the other dots. Informations that do exist but are not connected in each other. It has virtually no importance because it cannot be applied. It cannot be used, mobilized for creating new knowledge. So those are just eliminated. The performance of memory is always determined by how much portion of quality information does one have. Quality informations. Aha, that the one has a lot worth to be. So the conclusion is always seeking for and searching for, feeling and fulfilling the quality informations to attain and retain, not the tiny parts of any irrelevant fractions and features which has no meaning as it cannot be applied. Stored but not used has no value.